Let's talk about the hunt, not the kind with blood on the snow or trophies on a wall. I'm talking about the hunt that happens in boardrooms lit by ambition, in shadows where secrets are currency, and in the quiet, desperate corners of the human heart. It's a game, perhaps the oldest one, and at its core is a drive so potent, so intoxicating, it can make a person believe they are a god. It's the drive to pursue, to possess, to stand over a conquered objective and feel for one fleeting moment utterly in control. This is where it begins, with a target. Something gleams in the distance, a rival's empire, a coveted prize, a person who seems just out of reach. And in that gleam, a promise is born, a promise of validation. You see, the hunter doesn't just want the thing itself. They crave the narrative, the story of their own prowess, their cunning, their superiority. The chase becomes a performance where they are both the star and the only audience that matters. Every step of the plan, every calculated move is a line in that story. It's the adrenaline of closing in, the sweet tension of watching your design unfold. You feel the power in your veins. It's cold, it's precise, it's everything. Think about it. In that phase, the hunter is defined by a singular, flawless focus. The world narrows to a tunnel. At the far end, the target, everything else, the peripheral players, the moral cost, the whispers of consequence, they all fade into a blur. You study your prey. You learn their habits, their routines, their strengths, and most importantly, their weaknesses. You map the terrain between you and them. This isn't passion. It's a kind of chilling arithmetic. You believe you have accounted for every variable. You believe you see the whole board. This belief, this is the first poison. Because this power is a lie, a seductive, dangerous lie. The hunter feels strong because they are moving forward. They feel intelligent because they are anticipating their target's next move. They feel alive because of the risks. But all of that strength, that intelligence, that vitality is borrowed. It is entirely dependent on the existence of the prey. Without the chase, the hunter has no purpose. Without the struggle, they have no proof of their skill. They become addicted to the very act of pursuit, mistaking the hunger for the feast. And in this lies the fatal flaw, the crack in the foundation. The hunter becomes so enamored with their own reflection in the eyes of their prey, the fear, the respect, the obsession they see mirrored back, that they forget to look behind them. They forget that a gaze fixed on a single point cannot see the shifting shadows at its back. They forget that in focusing all their energy on the capture, they often neglect their own defenses. The weapon you sharpen to bring down another can be turned. The trap you set can be sprung from the other side. The target is never just an object. It has agency. It learns. It feels the pressure of your pursuit, and that pressure forges it into something new, something harder, something smarter. Or it attracts others, other hunters, drawn by the spectacle, who see you not as a peer, but as a rival in their own game. You are so busy writing your story of conquest that you fail to read the pages being written about you. This initial phase, this intoxicating allure of the hunt, it's not strength, it's a vulnerability wearing a crown. It sets the stage for everything that follows. Because when you build your identity on the act of hunting, you have built it on sand. The tide always comes in. And the most dangerous part of the game is that you never hear the click of the trap until it's already around your neck. So you're the hunter. You're deep in the chase, and the rhythm of it is like a heartbeat. The scent of your objective is in the air, a static charge on your skin. You can almost feel the shape of your victory before it's happened. This is the most dangerous place to be. Not at the start, and not at the end, but here, in the middle, where confidence becomes a kind of sensory deprivation. You see, the shift never comes with a fanfare. It doesn't announce itself. The moment the hunter becomes the hunted is not a dramatic scene. It's a quiet, imperceptible transfer of weight. It's the slow realization that the ground you're standing on isn't stone, it's glass. And you've been so focused on the distance, you never look down to see the cracks spreading beneath your feet. Think about the nature of pursuit. It demands a single point of focus, a laser. All your resources, all your intellect, all your passion are channeled into that beam. But a laser blinds you to everything outside its narrow path. And that's where the world is moving. While your entire being is committed to the forward motion, the environment around you is changing. The alliances you took for granted are recalculating their value. The shadows you dismissed as empty grow solid. The very rules of the game are being rewritten in a language you're no longer listening for. It happens through a series of small, silent failures, a piece of information that feels slightly too easy to obtain, a resistance from your target that is a little too precise, a little too familiar with your own methods, a sense that the maze you built for them has developed a new corridor, one you didn't design. You might dismiss the first sign as paranoia, the second as coincidence, but by the third, the architecture of the situation has already changed. The walls have moved. You're no longer the only one holding the blueprint. This is the paradox. Your greatest strength becomes your profound weakness. The intensity of your focus is what makes you vulnerable. You know everything about your prey, their habits, their fears, their predictable responses. But what do you know about the space behind you? What do you know about the new player who has been watching you hunt and who has learned from your own expert demonstration exactly how you operate? You have been a teacher and you never saw the class you were teaching. The shift occurs in the balance of attention. You are watching the rabbit, but the wolf is watching you. And in that moment, a fundamental transfer happens. You begin to react instead of act. Your moves, once so aggressive and sure, become calculated defensively. You start looking over your shoulder. A fraction of your mind, then more, is pulled away from the pursuit and devoted to securing your own perimeter. That is the first sip of the poison. That is the seed of doubt taking root. The hunter cannot afford to be defensive. The moment you do, you have ceded the initiative. You have handed over the defining energy of the hunt. And the prey, they feel it. Animals sense a shift in the wind. They know when the pressure at their back has eased, if only for a second, diverted elsewhere. This is when the prey stops running in fear. This is when they turn, not to fight, not yet. First, they look, they assess, they see the hunter, distracted, suddenly aware of a larger, darker forest. They see the first flicker of uncertainty. And in that look, everything changes. The dynamic is broken. The predator is no longer an invincible force of nature. It is a creature with a flank that can be exposed. The ground hasn't just changed beneath you. You are standing on different ground. The terrain you mastered is gone. You are now in their terrain. The rules are theirs. The psychological advantage, that invisible force field, cracks and shatters. You might still be moving forward, but the chase is no longer yours. You are now an actor in someone else's play, reading lines that were written to lead you to a specific, final mark. You never hear the door lock behind you. You only feel the draft. This is where we correct a fundamental mistake. We speak of the prey as if it is a thing, an object, a prize waiting on a shelf. That is the hunter's first and most catastrophic error. The target is never just a target. It is a will, it is a mind. And a mind under pressure does not shatter, it sharpens. It becomes a mirror, and then it becomes a weapon. You believe your pursuit is a demonstration of your power. You are wrong. It is an education. You are providing a private, intensive tutorial on your own methodology. Every move you make teaches them. Your patience shows them the value of timing. Your aggression shows them where the lines are drawn. Your cunning reveals your patterns. They are learning you. While you are busy studying their reflexes, they are dissecting your philosophy. They are not just running, they are taking notes. And the sole subject of their study is you. The prey's power does not come from brute force. It comes from a profound, leveraged understanding. They have one advantage: you have voluntarily surrendered. They know what it feels like to be hunted. They understand the pressure, the rhythm, the psychology of the chase from the inside. You can only theorize about it. They live it, and in that lived experience, they find the hunter's blueprint. They learn that the chase has a rhythm, and a rhythm can be disrupted. They learn that a predator's confidence is its most predictable trait. They learn that a trap, once identified, can be walked around, or can have its mechanism reversed, so they stop running in a straight line. They start moving in circles. They lead you through your own territory and show you shadows you had forgotten were there. They use your momentum against you. Your need for closure becomes a leash they can pull. Your assumption of their fear becomes a blindfold they can tighten. They offer you a tempting glimpse, a seeming mistake, a classic hunter's lure, but now you are the one taking the bait. You see a weakness, and you move in. But the weakness was a room, and they have just closed the door. This is the turn, not a clash of fists, but a silent transfer of narrative control. The story is no longer about your pursuit. It is about their survival. And superior survival is not about being stronger. It is about being smarter, more adaptable, more willing to become what the situation requires. The prey realizes a truth the hunter has forgotten. To win, you must be willing to change. The hunter is committed to a single identity, the pursuer. The prey is committed to a single outcome, to not be caught. And that commitment frees them to become anything: a ghost, a wall, a reflection, a trap. They may even appear to submit to allow you to think the game is over. This is the most sophisticated move of all. They let you feel the cold satisfaction of victory, let you relax your relentless focus for just 1 second, because they know that a hunter who believes the hunt is over is at his most vulnerable. He is savoring, not strategizing. He is celebrating, not watching. His guard is down, and his own desire has been turned into a weapon against him. The thing you wanted most becomes the dust in your eyes. This is agency. It is not about meeting force with greater force. It is about changing the nature of the contest entirely. They refuse to play your game on your terms. You rewrite the rules from inside the cage. They use your own hunger as the engine of your downfall. You, the hunter, are a creature of habit, of proven technique. They, the prey, are now a creature of necessity, of invention. And invention always defeats ritual. You came for a trophy, but you created something else. You created your equal. Or worse, you created your superior. Because they have studied your art and learned from it, and they carry none of the arrogance that now weighs you down. They carry only the cold, clean will to end the threat. Your threat. The rabbit doesn't need to become a wolf. It just needs to know how the wolf thinks, and then lead it to the cliff. But the hunter does not simply surrender the field. That is not in their nature. The predator who feels the turn, who sees the glint in their prey's eye where only fear should be, they don't retreat, they double down. This is where the true unraveling begins. This is where calculated desire curdles into something hot, blind, and self-consuming. It's the transition from strategy to obsession, and it's a poison that only the hunter drinks. Think of it as a crack in a dam. At first, it's just a trickle of doubt, a sense that the script is wrong. But instead of stopping to read the new pages, the hunter's instinct is to shout their lines louder, to force the performance back to its original direction. The goal is no longer about possession or victory or even the prize itself. It becomes about validation. It becomes about proving the initial story, the story of their own supremacy, was correct. And to do that, they must win. There is no other outcome the ego will accept. So rationality begins to peel away, layer by layer. The cold, precise arithmetic of the early hunt is replaced by a feverish calculus. Risks that were once carefully weighed are now dismissed as necessary costs. Contingencies are ignored, because admitting you need a backup plan is admitting the prey is smarter than you believed. The hunter starts to believe their own desperation is a form of genius, that this burning need to conquer is the same thing as strength. It isn't. It's a metabolic fire, and it burns from the inside out. They become predictable in a whole new, dangerous way. Where before they were predictable in their methodology, now they are predictable in their emotional responses. They can be taunted, they can be led. A slight, a feigned insult, a piece of bait that touches their pride. These become levers anyone can pull. The prey, now the strategist, learns which buttons to press. They learned that the hunter's greatest weakness is no longer a blind spot in their technique, but the wounded, throbbing nerve of their pride. Watch them. You'll see the recklessness set in. The meticulous planner starts taking shortcuts, convinced that their will alone can bridge the gaps in their plan. They start ignoring the environment, the allies who counsel caution, the clear signs of the trap being laid around them. They see the trap, but they believe their rage, their skill, their sheer force of desire will be enough to crash through it. This is the grand, tragic illusion, the belief that intensity can replace intelligence. This spiral has a gravity all its own. Each failure, and there will be failures, each time the prey slips away or turns the tables, doesn't teach the hunter a lesson. It pours fuel on the fire. They got lucky, the hunter thinks. They exploited a minor flaw. Next time I will be even more thorough, even more relentless. But thorough and relentless are just masks for obsession. The mission narrows from a goal to a singular, all-consuming fixation. Food, sleep, reason, consequence, all of it blurs into the static surrounding the one clear image, winning. And in this narrowing, they become exactly what their prey needs them to be, a controlled variable, a predictable force of nature. The obsessed hunter is a missile on a straight trajectory. You don't have to outrun it, you just have to stand to the side and let it pass, then guide it into the wall. The hunter's passion, once their engine, becomes their guidance system for their own destruction. They are piloting themselves into the abyss, convinced until the last second that they are about to soar. This is the most pathetic and terrifying stage of the game. The external hunt is still playing out, but the real battle is internal. It's a civil war between the mind that still faintly remembers strategy and the wounded ego that screams for conquest at any cost. The ego always wins. It always chooses the spectacular, self-immolating play over the quiet, tactical withdrawal. It would rather shatter completely than admit it miscalculated. They stop being a hunter. They become a symptom, a warning, a ghost of their own former purpose, haunting a game they can no longer understand, driven forward by a single repeating command: win, win, win. But the win they imagined is gone. It was stolen the moment the ground shifted. All that's left is the falling. And when you're in that spiral, you never think you're the one who's burning. You think it's the world. There is an end to the spiral. It doesn't go on forever. Gravity always wins. The fall is not just a failure. It's an unveiling. It's the moment the story the hunter wrote for themselves, the epic of control and cunning, collapses and the true story is revealed in the wreckage. This is not a simple defeat. It's a total structural failure of the self. Think of the hunter's entire reality as a building, built on a foundation of perceived superiority, framed with the timbers of strategy, wallpapered with the confidence of the chase. The fall is when the entire structure gives way. It doesn't happen because of one wrong move. It happens because every move after the turn, every act of obsession and recklessness, has been removing a load-bearing wall, cracking the foundation. The final moment is just when the weight of their own corrupted desire exceeds the integrity of what's left. The consequence is rarely a physical one, not at its core. The true consequence is exposure. The mask of the infallible predator is torn off, and what's revealed is the desperate, fragile ego that was always there. They are seen, truly seen, by their prey, who now looks at them not with fear, but with a cold, analytical pity. By their allies, who see the weakness and turn away. By the world they sought to dominate, which now witnesses their spectacular miscalculation. Their power was a performance, and the audience has just seen the strings. They are consumed by the very game they initiated. The hunt they started swallows them whole. The prize they sought becomes a mocking reminder of their failure, or worse, it is taken by another, the prey, or a new hunter who watched from the shadows and learned from both their mistakes. The hunter is left with nothing, not the trophy, not the pride, not the narrative, only the hollow, echoing space of a story that has ended in the wrong way. This is the key. They are defeated by the reflection of their own methods. The trap that closes on them is built from their own tactics, understood and refined by their target. The arrogance they displayed is used as the bait. The relentless focus they champion becomes the blindfold. They don't fall to a superior force. They fall into a perfected mirror of their own force. And the reflection shows them everything they refuse to see. And in that moment of impact, a profound truth settles. Colder than any night, the hunter realizes they were never the intro character in the way they believed. They were a catalyst, an obstacle, a lesson for someone else. Their grand hunt was merely the prologue to someone else's story of survival and triumph. They were the forge in which a stronger, smarter will was tempered. Their legacy is not one of conquest, but of being the necessary antagonist who created a hero or a monster more capable than themselves. All the energy, the intelligence, the relentless will, it doesn't vanish. It's transferred. It flows into the prey who has now shed that title forever. The hunter's fall is the final crucial nutrient in the soil of their successor's rise. They are the cautionary tale whispered at the start of the next game. Don't be like that one, they'll say. Don't get lost in the chase. They are left with the silence. The adrenaline is gone, replaced by a crushing fatigue. The scheming mind is empty, scorched clean by the fire of its own obsession. All that remains is the consequence, the ruined reputation, the shattered alliances, the isolated self, forced to confront a single unbearable question in the mirror. Was it worth it? And the echo that answers is the sound of their own hollowed-out purpose. They didn't just lose a game, they lost the person they believed they were. And that is a defeat from which there is no strategic retreat, no clever comeback. That identity is a city, and it is now in ashes. The final act of the hunt is always the hunter, kneeling in the ruins of their own design. So we've followed this dark path to its end. We've watched the hunter fall, consumed by the very game they started. It's easy to listen to this and think it's a story about them. The corrupt, the arrogant, the power-hungry, the monsters in the dark, a cautionary tale for someone else. That is the final and perhaps most dangerous mistake, because this story is not about them, it's about us. It's about the hunter and the hunted that live inside every single person who has ever wanted something they couldn't have, who has ever felt the intoxicating thrill of being in control, or the desperate chill of being the one who is not. Look closely at the pattern. It's not a criminal's blueprint, it's a human one. It plays out in an office where someone climbs over colleagues, believing themselves untouchable until their ambition makes them a target. It happens in relationships where one person holds all the cards, playing with another's heart, until the day they find their own heart on the table, offered back to them as a weapon. It unfolds in the quiet pride of a parent who must always be right, who must always be the authority until they find their child has become a stranger, an adversary shaped by their own rigid control. The scale changes, the consequences vary, but the cycle is the same. We are all at different times in different rooms of our lives, both roles. You are the hunter when you pursue a promotion with singular focus, blind to the allies you alienate. You are the hunted when you feel the pressure of expectations, of bills, of a society's gaze, and you must learn, adapt, and find a way to turn that pressure into strength. The predator in the boardroom goes home and becomes the prey to their own anxieties. The survivor in the street learns a skill and becomes the hunter of a better life. This fluidity is the truth. The labels are not identities, they are temporary conditions. That is why understanding this cycle is not about learning to spot monsters, it's about learning to spot the conditions within ourselves. It is the only way to break the cycle, to escape the game entirely. The game demands that you pick a side and cling to it. It tells you that you must either be the one with the power or the one without it, that life is a binary of conquest or submission. This is the lie. The real power lies in the conscious rejection of the game's very premise. It lies in the awareness that the thrill of the hunt is a poison and the panic of the prey is a teacher. You must learn to feel the first stirrings of that addictive control and consciously step back from the cliff. You must learn to feel the heat of pursuit and, instead of just running, turn and understand the nature of the thing chasing you, in your career, in your relationships, in your own mind. This is not passivity. It is a higher form of control. It is self-mastery. It is choosing your actions based on principle, not on the desperate need to prove you are the hunter, or the clever need to prove you are not prey. It is building a self that is not defined by its relationship to a target, but by its own integrity, a foundation that doesn't crumble when the roles shift, because it was never built on that shifting sand to begin with. When you understand the hunter in you, you can disarm it. You can recognize when your desire is curdling into something that will blind you. You can channel that drive into creation instead of possession. When you understand the hunted in you, you stop fearing it. You see its reflexes, its adaptability, its profound capacity to learn under pressure, as strengths to be honed, not as weaknesses to be ashamed of. You integrate both. You become something the game cannot categorize, a person who is aware. This awareness is the light that dispels the entire dangerous, seductive shadow play. It turns the endless, exhausting game of cat and mouse into a choice you no longer have to make. You walk off the board. You stop writing stories about conquering others and start building a story that can withstand any storm, any shift in power, any external desire. We have all felt the lure of the chase. We have all felt the cold sweat of being chased. The goal is not to pretend those feelings don't exist. The goal is to see them for what they are, whether in the mind. And you must be the ground, not the hunter, not the hunted. The ground upon which all of it passes, solid, aware, and finally free. The only way to win a game built on ruin is to refuse to play.